Greetings, Honorable Battle Brother.
Right. Today we are discussing the Space Wolves.
The Space Vikings.
Yes.
Yes, and their glorious Viking Primarch.
Wolf.
Wolf Lord Leman Russ. Yes.
I believe that Leman is also wolf in another language.
Wouldn't be surprised. He sounds like he works at IKEA full time.
Good point.
Okay, he is the Wolf Lord. He is the Space Viking. He is the Great Wolf. He is the Primarch of the Space Wolves Space Marine Legion. And along with this, he likes wolves.
A lot.
A lot.
Way too much.
Way too much.
Well, he was raised by them, so one would assume that would kind of have a certain effect on him.
So, skipping ahead, going backwards to that skip ahead point. Yes. Let's talk about Leman landing on Fenris. Yes. So, Leman Russ, the sixth son of the Primarch, was known as the Emperor's Executioner in later times. How he got that name?
Guess.
Not sure. Let's see. There's very, very, very hinted at that Leman had to put down two of his brothers, or at least one of his brothers. Those being the Second Legion and the whatever the other number was, 12? 12?
I believe so.
Which are completely redacted in Imperium history. So, Leman's called the Emperor's Executioner. Two of the Emperor's sons got executed. It's openly referred to that Leman would have to execute other Primarchs, stating that the fact that he already did it.
Yes.
So it's very, 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 very likely that Leman Russ is the reason why there are two less Primarchs in the Warhammer 40,000 universe.
Huh.
Fun fact, the Leman Russ tank, it's named after Leman Russ.
Because at some point, Leman Russ, Viking and ultimate space furry, had something to do with the creation of a tank. Yeah. Which is amazing. Amazing.
That is something.
Yes.
So, like we mentioned, Leman Russ, the sixth son, landed on the planet of Fenris after they all got kidnapped by the gods of chaos. Fenris was a cold, frozen world, which was perpetually stuck in the Viking Age.
Untrue.
So,
brief aside, according to Lexicanum, there would be points in the summer where volcanoes would just happen.
I stand corrected. That is very much not what I thought Fenris was.
So in the summer, apparently, the planet will go through Ragnarok, where...
That's thematic.
In the short summer months, when the planet is closest to the sun, the planet's crust would be broken, burning great areas with lava flows, churning the seas, and causing massive tidal waves. It is during these months, referred to as the time of fire and water, that the whole of the planet changes its form. Islands are both destroyed and created in entirety, upheaving homes made during the winter and resulting in the population becoming once again nomadic barbarian tribes. So every summer, Ragnarok would just happen.
Very thematic. And this fucking cataclysmic summer event that happens every year would lead to harder Space Marine recruits, I suppose.
Yes.
It was a death world, I might also mention. It was a literal death world. Just like Caliban had the weird fucking chaos monsters, Fenris was a weird fucking death world with ice and fire, so...
I feel like it's inaccurate to call it Viking land. It's more like if you took all of the, if you distilled Amon Amarth to its purest, Vikings were so cool and awesome, and they killed a bunch of really cool things, and Jormungandr and trolls and shit. You took all of that Viking metal, and you put that on a planet. Because there's talk of mountains, and giant lava krakens, and wolves the size of horses.
Oh my.
So yes, it's a very, very, very horrible place.
I would very much not like to live there, thanks.
Yes. There are shape-shifting monster creatures also mentioned in the same page. It is a single continent. At the planet's North Pole is a single continent called Asaheim that alone is unaffected by the time of fire and water. This is the only location that the great many of the planet's unique creatures can survive. These include snow trolls, shape-shifting doppelgangers, and massive worms, spelled with a Y because fantasy, that burrow the landscape. The deadliest of all these creatures is the Fenrisian wolf. A wolf that I assume is very big and terrifying.
So big
Yes.
that some fan art, some fucking hedonistic fan art,
Oh no.
would depict these space marines
Oh no.
relating to
Oh.
these wolves.
Right, yes, I forgot. The internet is a cold, dark, horrible place.
Yes,
And that is what
they-
happens to the sons of Russ who fall to chaos.
Yes.
They just go,
Fun fact though, there is very, 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 very few space wolves that have ever fallen to chaos. So much, whether that's fucking because they come from a planet like you just described, or because the gene seed of Leman Russ is so fucking like, it scares chaos off so much that literally the current Great Wolf, I believe the title is, like the quote unquote chapter master.
Yeah.
Because the space wolves aren't even close to chapter compliant, by the way. The current Great Wolf, Loken Grimnar, literally has a demon axe that is like a gift from Korn that he ripped from the hands of like a bloodthirster.
right.
And he uses the demon axe without corruption, without signs of corruption.
Well, we can come back to. I have my own opinion on this. We can come back to that later once we talk a little bit more about the Space Wolves. But before we talk about the Space Wolves, let's talk a little bit more about Leman Russ and his horrible, terrible power metal ballad that was his life.
Yes, so upon landing on the planet of Fenris, Leman didn't see people. There were no people around. What there was a mother wolf. And Leman was quickly adopted into her wolf pack. And he was literally raised as a wolf. Isn't that something?
Yes.
Like, you read stories about these feral children, like, lost in the fucking, like, in, like, the Appalachian Mountains and in the Rockies, like,
Yeah.
raised by wolves. Leman Russ was literally raised by a wolf that is the size of a fucking VW bus.
And had brothers.
So, and he had brothers that would follow him well into the Great Crusade.
Yes. Which he was allowed to keep for some reason.
Yes, because Wolfman.
Yes. Wolfman got to keep his wolf boys, but Angron didn't get
Yes.
to keep his friends.
We're gonna get to Angron and Leman Russ in a couple minutes. Don't you worry about that, because there is some tension.
I would assume so.
Yes. So, Leman, like the other Primarchs, would eventually become king of all Fenris. He would eventually, once being literally raised by wolves, he would eventually find people, and he would be quickly named the king of the planet, because I would too, if I'm gonna be completely honest. He's scary.
Yeah. I'd just like to point out that they found him because the wolves invaded a city.
Yeah.
And then Leman Russ covered their retreat so that all of the wolves who went in went out.
Yeah.
And so they brought Crazy Wolf Boy tied and bound to their king,
Right.
who saw this giant, terrifying wolf man screaming and snarling and was like, yeah, I like this one. Keep him.
That's my new son.
Yes.
Give him a crown.
I will raise him
Yeah.
as if he were my own boy.
Wouldn't you, though? For fear of your own life, raise him as your own child.
A good point, yeah. I mean, once you have Leman Russ, again, was raised by something the size of a VW bus.
He weaponized wolf packs.
Yes.
Like, he literally did the thing that we all dreamed about when we were fucking, 6 years old. He made an army out of wolves.
Yes. So,
The size of literal fucking semi-trucks. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's assumed that, what was it that we said back in the Dark Angels video? Leman Russ showed up and basically King Thengu was just like, I win.
yep.
I win. This is my son. I win now.
Yep, exactly. Just like Luther adopting the lion and quickly defeating all of the other orders, the king of Fenris, with Leman Russ as his boy, quickly assimilated the rest of the fucking planet.
Yes.
So, now that we talked a little bit about his adoption and his raising as part wolf, part man, we'll talk about the Emperor.
Yeah.
And the Emperor eventually arrived, but he didn't show up in force like he did with the Lion, and this was more subtle on the Emperor's part. And it's interesting that the Emperor approached Leman in this way, because it takes... For all the fucking talk that the Emperor was a bad father, which of course he was, but when the Emperor wanted to impress people, he could.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. And this was definitely an effort in impressing fucking Leman Russ, because it's weird the way the Emperor interacts with his sons, and you could see where he wants to maintain relationships.
Yeah.
When we talk about Angron in a couple episodes, we're gonna literally talk about how the Emperor showed up, said, "You're with me now, boy," and then drove off, leaving the Emperor's friends to die.
Yeah.
There was no fucking cordialness, there was no interaction, it was like we talked about with Jagged-Eye Khan.
Just,
it was
I'm
either
here
you're
now.
with me, it's either you're with me or you're fucking dead. You're dust. So make a choice. But with Leman Russ, there was more empathy. There was more relativeness expressed. So let's talk about the 3 challenges.
Yes.
So the Emperor shows up on Fenris, disguised as fucking some guy, just a dude, and he challenges Russ to some games, to some contests.
Yeah.
And whoever won would be the other's bitch. Like, you're gonna be my boy. Yeah. And Russ was he's fucking 12 feet tall. Of course he's gonna accept and beat out this little man. And the order of the challenges always confuses me.
The first one was a drinking challenge.
Okay.
No, the first one was an eating challenge, which the Emperor lost. By sheer physics.
Yes.
Because a 12-foot man have big stomach.
Right.
The second challenge was a drinking contest, which the Emperor also lost. Because apparently, millennia of living as several religious figures does not, in fact, improve your alcohol tolerance. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. The third challenge was that Leman Russ said that he would beat the Emperor in combat.
Right.
And the Emperor, it says, after hours of fighting, the Emperor eventually defeated Russ.
Yeah. And then Russ was fucking, like, confused as shit, right?
Yeah.
And then the Emperor fucking threw off his brown cloak, and he was like, "Behold, I am now 16 feet tall."
And shiny.
And then Russ was like, "Alright, yeah, cool, fuck it." And he realized that it was his dad.
Yeah.
And they all got along great.
Yeah. And he met Horus, as all of the Primarchs did.
Horus. I remember reading it it might have been Moloch, the book Moloch. I can't remember which book it was. Could have been the Vengeful Spirit, or the one that's after that one. I don't fucking know.
Fair.
But it talks about, from Horus's point of view, the interaction with Leman Russ. Yeah. And Leman Russ didn't even know how to speak, like in Gothic. Mm-hmm. And it talked about like the adaptability of Primarchs, because just from one conversation, Leman Russ visibly or audibly learned the accent, learned the language, just from one conversation. That's how fucking hyper intelligent these people are. And how he was literally a savage, like, still dressed in like wolf pelts and shit. Yeah. And Horus was like, "I kind of like you, but also if we ever fight, I'm gonna murder the shit out of you." And Leman Russ was like, "You could fucking try," and that was foreshadowing.
Yes.
Because we would later see the two of them fight. We're gonna get into that later.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Great Crusade now. So the Emperor and Leman Russ were reunited. Leman Russ was introduced to his boys, the Space Wolves.
Can we talk about the Space Wolves pre-Crusade briefly? Because apparently the Space Wolves were not unleashed upon the regular solar system.
Oh, interesting.
So, the Fourth Legion, they were just called the Fourth Legion before. the VI, the 4th Legion, which was made of...
Sixth.
Oh, the 6th. Yes. I don't do Roman numerals.
Yep.
The 6th Legion, and they were basically just a group of maniacs from Earth.
You're not far off, yeah.
And so they were not used on most of the Unification Wars and the conquering of the solar system.
Because they were
too
fucking...
system. Yeah, they were just insane. And so, about 10 years into the Great Crusade, the 6th Legion was unleashed onto the wider galaxy.
Those poor motherfuckers.
And, blah, 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 blah. The Legion, within the first chapter master, Enoch Rathvin, initiated a vicious assault upon the planet of Delsvan under the so the gist of it is they gained this reputation of being essentially horrifying psychomaniacs.
Yes.
And this would
not
persist.
Stop. This would not go away.
Yes, this does not stop. They just become Viking flavored.
The whole fucking mutation present in the what is it called? The Canis.
The Canis Helix.
The Canis Helix. So, fucking space wolves and their goddamn names. Basically, there's a rare mutation that happens with the when the gene seed is introduced to an aspirant, where sometimes they turn into a werewolf, and they go fucking crazy. First off, then they grow hair all over their body.
Yes.
Then their nails and their teeth, and then their fucking mind go away, and then they're chained basically together, and they're formed like ad hoc units of wolfen, and just like
attack dogs.
They're basically attack dogs. They're advanced scouts. Like I'm thinking, the Black Rage, like the Blood Angels and their death companies.
Yeah.
That's basically what the wolfen were. They were fucking like roided up werewolves sent into battle. Only like when shit was hitting the fan though.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't just release these fuckers because they go fucking crazy.
It's less about like we need the tactical implementation, more just like put them there and then get everything you want to survive out of the way.
Yes, because it will get murdered.
Yes.
100%. It'll get its throat ripped out.
Yes.
So we mentioned Angron and Leman Russ's relationship. Yeah. So let's talk about where that stems. And in doing so, we are going to talk about the only recorded incident of Astartes on Astartes on Space Marines versus Space Marine combat before the Horus Heresy. So Angron, for those of you who don't know, is fucking crazy. And his sons are also fucking crazy. And they had these things jammed in their fucking brains called the butcher's nails. And they would pump these fuckers up with fucking adrenaline and rage-inducing chemicals until they were frothing at the mouth, blood-matted berserkers.
Yes.
And the Emperor didn't like this very much. So he sent his boy, the Emperor's executioner, to tell the fucking world leaders to stop putting these fucking nails in their brains. And Leman Russ would lead his boys, the Space Wolves, to slap Angron on the hand a little bit and to convince him that he needs to stop putting nails in his son's brains. And Angron got very fucking angry.
As he does. All the time.
And they would fucking fight, and a lot of motherfuckers would die. Angron thought he won because he killed more space wolves than he lost world eaters. Meanwhile, Leman Russ had literally backed Angron into an unescapable position where he was going to die, and Angron's like, I beat you, motherfucker, what are you gonna do about it? You gonna cry? You gonna cry to your little wolves, you little wolf boy? And Leman Russ told Angron, like, twice, like, you need to fucking stop fighting, or you're going to fucking die. And Angron, being Angron, had a problem to this. And, yeah. So they fought, Leman Russ and Angron. Leman Russ kicked in fucking Angron's teeth, if I'm not incorrect. And yeah, that was it. And then the situation kind of just went away.
Okay.
This was called.
No, continue.
I was just gonna say this was called the Night of the Wolf.
Right.
And it was literally the only recorded instance of civil war before the actual civil war, the Horus Heresy.
Here's my question. If
Yes.
Leman Russ is the Emperor's executioner, what does that make Angron?
The Emperor's retarded baby. Angron is what we have, what we call anger issues incarnate.
Well, one would assume, yes. His name is, in fact, Angron.
Angron
Yes.
is literally his name, yeah.
That
No,
seems
Angron,
redundant from a purely
Yeah.
tactical standpoint. Just, I'm gonna have this designated Viking wolf boy. I'm gonna call him my executioner. What about this army of dudes that exist to literally just be angry, froth at the mouth, and kill things with chain axes?
Yes.
We just have them. They're just here.
From a storytelling point of view, it makes sense.
Yes.
Because the Horus Heresy is full of counterbalances.
Yeah.
So when they're writing this shit, when Black Library and Games Workshop is creating all this lore and shit, they need counters. They need punches and counter punches. Yeah. So obviously Angron and the World Eaters turned to Khorne, the god of blood and rage and death and all that. They needed something else on the Loyalist side to counter this.
Yeah.
And so we have the Space Wolves, who are not Khornate,
somehow,
but they are berserkers-ish. The Thornian Heresy, obviously, on the other hand, is the alternate timeline that was written by a fan. It's the actual opposite. And this timeline, Leman Russ falls to Khorne, and Angron stays loyalist. I love alternate theories and shit like that.
Yeah. The Theoreticus Heresy is very good.
Is fucking amazing. Big shout out to 40k Theories and creating that 4-hour-long video. It's fucking amazing.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. Show him some love. Tell him we sent you. For all fucking 6 of you that listen to this. But like we see this duality, the balance counterbalance. We see this with the Imperial Fists and the world and the Iron Warriors. We see this with the White Scars and whoever else is fast. We see this with the Alpha Legion and the Raven Guard. You know, the other insert fast Legion, I suppose. The Death Guard,
children,
I guess.
Technically.
Not really. They're
troops?
fast. Yeah. No. Maybe. And moving on.
Yeah.
Not me disproving my own point or anything.
Yes.
Anyway.
They don't
So let's talk about the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Horus Heresy. So, where was Leman Russ during the start of the Horus Heresy? Well, invisible person who sounds a lot like me that just asked that question to me. Leman Russ was punching Magnus's spine out. That's where he was.
Yes.
So.
Never mind. You can explain.
Okay. The Council of Nicaea. We talked about it with Jagadai Khan, and I believe so, right?
Yes.
It's not just in my head. Okay.
Yes, we did.
Yes. So, after the Council of Nicaea, Magnus the Red was put on blast for using psychic powers when he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, after the Council of Nicaea, Magnus got figured out that Horus was going to betray the Emperor. So, in doing so, he made this huge-ass ritual in which he traveled etherically to Terra into the Emperor's throne room to warn him about Horus's betrayal. And the Emperor didn't fucking like this.
Yes.
And
because he had to knock over the Emperor's super secret space webway project to do it.
Yeah, well, everything's Magnus's fault. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
Magnus did everything wrong. Fuck you. Fuck you who's typing right now. I could hear you. So the Emperor sent Leman Russ to go bring Magnus back for basically a trial.
Yeah.
In chains, he was supposed to bring Magnus back in chains.
And alive.
And alive and totally not dead. In chains, not dead. And then Leman Russ was like, all right, cool, I'll be right back. And on the way over to Prospero, the Thousand Suns homeworld, Horus was like, oh, bro, Leman, it's your boy, Horus here. Listen, I just got a call from Dad. He said you need to murder our brother Magnus. Never mind about that whole chain shit. Totally don't verify this information. Goodbye. And Leman Russ was like, alright, cool, I guess I'm gonna fucking murder Magnus now. And goes off and fucking storms Prospero. He does.
It's not
he literally
really so much the burning of Prospero so much as it is the glassing of Prospero.
Yes.
Leman
The Space
Russ
Wolves
and the Space Wolves go down there and manually, shot by shot, stab by stab, glass a planet.
Yes. Leman Russ and the Space Wolves deploy in force the entirety of the Legion on Prospero, Wolfen included, fucking all of them, Sisters of Silence and Custodes all deploy on fucking Prospero to murder Magnus.
Yeah.
Which, hold on, let's just talk about this real quick. The Custodians.
Yes.
The Custodian Guard, the Emperor's boys, like literally the Emperor's boys.
His most favoritist boys.
Heard Horus say, we need to kill Magnus. Not even, hold on, let's rewind this a little bit. It wasn't even the Custodians. Correct me if I'm wrong. Constantine Valdor was with fucking Russ on this expedition.
Hold on.
Please fact check me.
Okay, hold on. I need to know. This is important. Constantine Valdor. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
he was. The
So,
Constantine Valdor.
The Captain General of the Custodian Guard since the fucking beginning was with Russ and heard Horus say, hey boy, you need to murder Magnus. Never mind what the Emperor said.
Did not
and
even
didn't
question.
bat an eye? Are you fucking with me?
He was just like, sure, yeah. Well, I have a counter. I have a counter proposal.
Okay.
Magnus was a nerd.
Magnus was a nerd. This is confirmed.
And it had already.
I thought that was it. I thought that was your point.
No,
Magnus is a nerd.
that is point 1 of 2.
Okay.
Point 1 is that Magnus, Leman, the Sisters of Battle, all of them really wanted to beat on some nerd.
Yep.
Point 2, which is less memular.
Okay.
The Emperor kind of the Emperor throughout history has exhibited this kind of zero tolerance policy for psychers that are not him or under his direct control.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So the Sisters of Battle are going to follow Valdor to the end of the earth and back because he's Constantine Valdor, big giant ultra giga chad leader of the Custodes. And Valdor knows that the Emperor can be temperamental about things.
Right.
And so it is assumed that because the Emperor's super secret webway project was destroyed, that of course the Emperor is going to change his mind about it and be mercurial. It's not his place to question whether or not this makes sense. He's supposed to go and do what the Emperor says. And also, it's Horus.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone loves Horus by this point.
Yeah. You aren't wrong.
He's the Emperor's favorite. It is we can assume at this point that Constantine Valdor can trust Horus just as much as the Emperor does, because it's assumed that the Emperor and Constantine Valdor were in reasonable proximity when the Great Crusade started.
Right.
So it could be assumed that Constantine Valdor has seen Horus in action, thinks he knows the kind of person Horus is, and believes Horus just as much as the Emperor would believe Horus, and everyone else would believe Horus. So so when Horus Lupercal, the Emperor's favorite boy, the Emperor's favorite son, the only one whose name the Emperor will consistently remember, shows up and says, "Oh hey, the Emperor changed his mind," and Constantine is just gonna be like, "Well, Horus said so, and we know how he is. Oh well, it's time to go glass a planet."
Here I go killing again.
That's about the size of it, yeah.
Right. So, in the course of this battle, Leman Russ challenges Magnus to a duel. Now, Magnus, for being such a fucking nerd, kind of deserved this, but whatever. Anyway, he was not an incapable fighter.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was a Primarch.
Yes.
Who had space magic.
Yes.
So, like, he put up a fight, for sure.
Yeah. But
he punched out one of Leman's hearts, I do believe.
But it is like the difference between, like, a fighter caster and just a hard fighter.
Yes. Yeah.
Just
now, this is
all
like,
of
this
his
is literally,
points.
yeah.
All of his points into strength.
Right. Like, not even a fucking joke.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if we're all the same level of nerds, but I'm sure we've all seen the Nolan Dark Knight movies.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Bane goes, I was forged by the darkness, and basically breaks Batman's spine over his knee, right?
Yes.
That's what Leman did to Magnus.
Yes.
He literally shatters Magnus's spine over his knee, and yeah, Magnus doesn't really recover from that ever.
I mean, how can you?
His physical body is kind of destroyed after this. Yeah, we're gonna get to Magnus in whenever his episode is.
Yeah.
I think they're the 15th Legion.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
They're way down there in the list.
Yeah, we'll talk about that fucking nerd some other time. Moving on. The Space Wolves would fight the Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
They would fight,
Alfarius, maybe.
They would... Question mark.
Yes.
But they would also fight the Luna Wolves, the Sons of Horus, that's what they're called at the end. And Leman Russ would personally fight Horus Lupercal on his way to Terra. And it's this really interesting book I didn't really read, because I was bored as shit. Just because of how much goddamn, like, bullshitting was going on. But basically,
a lot of stuff.
Garvio Loken, we'll get to him when we talk about the Emperor, not the Emperor, what's his name?
Horus Boys.
That's his name. Garvio Loken, betrayed by the Sons of Horus, comes back, kind of dies, comes back to life. He doesn't really die, he was just hiding. He became Cerberus, and then a Knight Errant, and we're gonna talk about all that shit later. But basically, he led a strike team onto the Vengeful Spirit, the flagship of the Sons of Horus, where Horus was all, like, chilling.
Yeah.
And they basically would clear the way for the Space Wolves to launch a fucking lightning raid on the Vengeful Spirit.
Right.
And they invaded the fucking Vengeful Spirit. It was cool as shit. It's the only part of the book I paid attention to.
Yeah.
And Leman Russ went fucking toe-to-toe with Horus.
Yeah.
He injures Horus, and right as Leman Russ had Horus at his mercy, as he was going to deliver the killing blow, he didn't. And the reason for this is whatever you really want to say. He had a moment of compassion. He felt the laughter of thirsting gods. Whatever. But the point is, Leman Russ did not deliver that killing stroke. But he did wound Horus substantially, so much so that Horus would later kind of almost die from this wound that he left him.
Right.
Leman Russ was definitely a capable fighter, but at this point, Horus was all hyped up on warp juice.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would fight the Space Wolf. He was the Space Wolf. He would fight the Alpha Legion, who might have been Space Wolves. We don't fucking know.
Yeah.
The Alpha Legion's one big fucking question mark. Anyway, so the Space Wolves were fucking way out there. They were being held up by the Alpha Legion and the Sons of Horus the whole time. They were not close to Terra during the battle. Yeah. But they would eventually get there at the end of the siege when the Dark Angels and the Ultramarines showed up. Yep. Russ was there as well. And he would lead the Great Scouring, because he was pissed off, understandably.
Yes. Because he didn't get to be in the big fight.
Yeah.
He also said at the end that he was going to just go away somewhere and return at the wolf time. When the great wolf howls at about wolf o'clock and a quarter to howl, awoo.
Awoo!
And then...
Wolf boys unite.
Yes. And then he left his sword. Well, he left the Fang, which is the name of their fortress monastery. And he left... And he took his best boys, except for Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who is now one of the oldest walking dreadnoughts ever.
Yeah, and he wasn't even a dreadnought for the whole time. He was just really fucking old, and then he got turned into a dreadnought, like, during the second Black Crusade. So, like he said, Leman Russ kind of just walks off. He disappears into the Eye of Terror, for a bunch of maybe reasons. One theory is that he's looking for Lionel Johnson. He's looking the wrong fucking way, by the way. Others is that he's looking for a cure for the Emperor to bring him back to life after he was interned on the Golden Throne. That's pretty much the theories. We'll probably see Leman Russ sooner rather than later. My theory is that he's going to be the fourth Primarch to return after the Lion, who is all but confirmed to return since the book Luther came out. The Jagadai Khan, Rogaldorn, and then Russ, I think.
So nobody who we as long as we didn't explicitly see them die, then they're not dead.
Yes.
And even that's impossible, because as we have seen, the Primarchs can be cloned almost exactly.
Yes, but it depends, because like in the cases of Horus's clone, he didn't have a soul, because the Emperor fucking Kamehameha'd out of existence.
Yes.
So like, it wasn't exactly Horus. Like, it obviously wasn't even a fraction of the power of Horus, because Abaddon fucking ripped his spine out. Like, yeah, it's just not the same.
Yeah. I like how one of the quotes from Leman Russ is, "Do not underestimate the Squats. They survived for millions of millennia, cut off from the Imperium and assaulted from all sides. Their determination and resilience is an example to all." Of course, Viking Man likes dwarves.
Yep. Yeah, we don't talk about squats here, sorry. Squats are a redacted subject, sorry. Anyway, Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Yes.
Yeah, he's real old.
Yeah. He
was elected
Primarch wheelchair.
Yeah. Bjorn was the oldest living Space Wolf, is the oldest living Space Wolf.
Technically.
He was elected the Great Wolf. I think he was the first chapter master of the Space Wolves after the second founding, which was when the legions all got divided into chapters during the Codex Astartes. He was injured and injured fucking severely, and put in a dreadnought, and he was put to sleep. And the way dreadnoughts work is that the more time you spend awake, the more time you are... What's the phrase? Decaying, dead inside.
Yes.
You're not so much decaying, like, you're not rotting away, but, like, you are more and more a machine. So the idea is to keep them sleeping as long as possible and only waking them up when you need it. Well, there was an incident where Magnus the Red invaded Fenris to kind of get back for Prospero.
Yeah.
And they woke up Bjorn as the Dreadnought, and Bjorn fucked them up almost single-handedly. Like, fucking, like, decimated the assaulting Thousand Sons. It was badass. Yeah, so, the Space Wolves would lead several great hunts, they're called, to search for Leman Russ. Obviously, they have not found them yet. They think he's coming back soon. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Loken Grimnar's the current Great Wolf, and his Wolf Lords are his lieutenants, and they all ride wolfhounds, and the wolfhounds have wolf pets, and the pets have wolves, and the wolf
Yes.
Wolves.
They're giant super furries, is what we're saying. In every
Wolves.
sense of the word.
Oh, let's talk about Rune Priests.
Yes.
So, we talked about that a little bit last episode with Jagged Icon and the Stormseers, but Rune Priests, much like Stormseers, harness the elemental powers of the Immaterium.
Yes.
And they thought, mistakenly, that their power came from the animalistic nature of their planet.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
But go off, sis. That's fine. The Rune Priests, there was this one Rune Priest who I wanted to talk about. His name was Weird Mick, Uthrar, Weird. I don't work at IKEA. I can't pronounce these fucking names.
Hold on.
Anyway.
Spell it. I need to type it into Google.
I can't fucking spell that shit. Are you kidding me?
Cool.
We're gonna go off that Uthward Weird Mick.
Yes.
If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about.
Cool.
He was paired up with Azek Araman, the first captain and chief librarian of the Thousand Sons.
Yes.
Before the burning of Prospero. And Araman would teach this Storm Rune Priest about the ways of the warp and shit like that. And all the while he was just nodding along yeah, definitely, that's really cool. Anyway, during the Council of Nicaea, this motherfucker was called to the stand and was and the Emperor was hey, you witnessed some weird shit happening with the Thousand Sons sorcerers, right? And he was fuck yeah, they summoned demons. They summoned literal demons into this world and called them pets. And Araman was ooh, you bastard. And anyway, he was a piece of shit. Whatever. I fucking hate space wolves. They're just
I just want
furries.
to point out, I want to bring up my previous what we mentioned before with the, what was it? When we compared the Stormseers to the Rune Priests, and how the Rune Priests believe that their powers come from the planet.
Yes.
Which is not true.
Right.
But then I feel again, as long as we're discussing the cultural influences of the planet of Fenris, the space wolves that become space wolves at all become space wolves because they believe that because they're very good at hitting things and very good at they're conquerors. So it's assumed that the reason they have this kind of we conquer the forces of the planet, we're not like those other guys, we're amazing and awesome, and we have control all the time, because they believe that by they're not harnessing powers, they're conquering powers, and they're they're manipulating this force, as opposed to the Stormseers who believe the power is not ours. This is light. We're taking lightning, grabbing it out of the sky and throwing it at people, as opposed to the Rune Priests, which are we, through our sheer badass Viking-tude, grab the power of the earth and we make it do what we want it to do. Yeah. Which is the same kind of haughty attitude that the Thousand Sons had.
Yeah. You aren't wrong.
Yeah. And so that's why the Stormseers are the best Imperial Psychers.
Yeah. The Stormseers or the Rune Priests?
The Stormseers.
I would say the Stormseers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I'm scrolling through just the notable events on Lexicanum, and it mentions something just called the Great Shame. No.
Huh.
The, hold up. Wolf, the Months of Shame. Where after Armageddon, they tried to protect civilians from the Armageddon conflict, and they were in a Cold War with the Inquisition for a while.
With the Grey Knives, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk about this.
Cool.
So, after the Horus Heresy ended, the Space Wolves were tired of being seen as blood-maddened berserkers, and they actually started to care about people.
Yeah.
Strange. I don't like them either. Obviously, I record a fucking 40K podcast. What do you think I'm a people person? No.
I mean, think about it. Space Wolves are Vikings, and as we all know, Vikings like to party. You need small people to play the instruments and serve you the beer.
Yes. Oh, talk about the beer.
Yes. Mjod.
Go ahead. Yes.
Space Marines have very powerful livers. and many other internal systems that don't allow them to get drunk. To counteract this, the Space Wolves invented Yod. I don't know how to pronounce it. There's a slice through the O. It is distilled from horribly poisonous plants that will eat through the liver of the insides, period, of a lesser human being.
They say one person can take like half a sip.
Yes.
Before it becomes literally lethal.
Yes. Space Wolves down this stuff in gallons. And it's the only way it neutralizes the abilities of an organ called the oolitic kidney. And it allows them to feel any kind of drunk. It's the only way they can get drunk, by essentially drinking ultimate super rat poison.
Leave it to the fucking Space Wolves to make Astartes alcohol.
Yes. And
anyways,
what it says, not even really good alcohol, it's just beer.
No, it sounds like literal petrol.
Yes.
If I'm going to be completely honest. So, we talked about it, we mentioned it.
Yeah.
The Space Wolves like people now for some reason, and there was a couple wars fought on the planet of Armageddon. A couple really good books written about it.
Yeah.
But after one of the events of the book of the wars, Angron in demon form would come and try to conquer the world. And the Steel Legion, normal people, spat in his eyes and sent him back to hell. And the Space Wolves were here, obviously. And the Grey Knights, following the protocol of the Inquisition, wanted to sterilize the population of the planet.
Right.
And force them into labor camps to work until they all died.
Yes.
Died off, because that's how you got rid of the taint of chaos.
Yeah.
In order to make sure that these people, these normal fucking people who weren't even on the same hemisphere,
who fought as the people who straight up fought Angron.
Yeah.
To death.
To death. Yep.
And kicked him back to hell.
Yeah.
The result, the decision the Inquisition made was ethnic cleansing.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Straight out of a fucking yep. It's fucking yep. The Inquisition are cartoon villains.
Yes.
Consistently. So the Space Wolves said, "Hey, maybe let's not murder all of these innocent people who just fought side by side with us."
Yeah.
And the Inquisition said, "What are you gonna do? Fight us?" And the fucking Space Wolves were like, "Yes, that's exactly what we're gonna do." And so the Inquisition sent the Grey Knights and the Space Wolves, and they just kind of fucking like escalated this conflict and escalated it, and there was almost another fucking civil war. Excuse me. And then the fucking Grey Knights backed down. The people were allowed to live, and the Space Wolves said, "All right, good job."
Just like. He's like, "We're going to kill these people. You can't kill these people. We think they fight good."
Yep.
Thus, civil war almost happened.
Almost happened again.
Yeah.
For a third time.
Yeah, there's a lot of repetitions of the word wolf.
Yes. They do like their wolf, 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 wolf.
Yes.
Wolf,
the hunt for the wolf. The wolf in return from the Eye of Terror?
Yeah.
Does that mean that they just kind of were like, we have a bunch of giant ultimate super mutant werewolves that we don't know what to do with. Throw them into the giant chaos hole. If they we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Brilliant.
It probably did something. Hey, if you follow the lore of if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, the Space Wolves and their many wolf accoutrements are in good luck, because Leman Russ is kicking him alive.
Yeah.
And he's doing shit. He's terrorizing villages in the fucking Eye of Terror. He's terrorizing the demonic villages and shit.
Well, that sounds about right.
Yeah, which is probably, honest to God, what he's doing.
Yeah.
So we have Jagged Eye in the Webway. We have Leman Russ in the Eye of Terror. We have the Lionel Johnson literally sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Primarchs are really putting in work right about now. Yeah, good job for them.
Also, I like how their function, though undeniably loyal to the Emperor, the Space Wolves are known for their fiercely anti-authoritarian behavior, despite having their Primarch be known as the Emperor's Executioner.
Yes.
And being the legion that the Emperor would send to glass planets that disagreed with him.
Yep. Consistently.
So they went from that to just kind of angry drunk people.
Yep. And that's pretty much where they stand today. They are just angry drunk people who don't like bullies.
Despite
essentially
being
the Space Wolves.
Despite
being literal space Vikings.
Yes.
And also bullies.
Yes. They apparently apply great attention to planning.
Fucking okay.
I want to read another quote from Leman Russ because it kind of exemplifies how Leman Russ went from angry wolf just being a larger, scarier version of the kid who growls at you.
Yes.
To a legitimate military leader, because all of his quotes are very eloquent and fancy.
Yes.
So I just want
he
to
was
pick...
a Primarch.
Yes. I just want to pick a random quote here to emphasize this man was raised by wolves. Wolves that he got to keep throughout a better part of the crusade. Do we know what happens to them, or do they just die at some point?
I think one of them dies during the burning of Prospero.
Ah.
I could be incorrect, though.
Magnus killed one of Leman Russ's dog brothers.
That's what I think happened.
Yes. So Leman Russ started life as a snarling dog person. Then he became a Viking, and then he says things like, I will now read the speech. I will now read his last words. Listen closely, brothers, for my life's breath is all but spent. There shall come a time for us far from now when our chapter itself is dying, even as I am now dying, and our forces shall gather to foes shall gather to destroy us. Then, my children, I shall listen for your call in whatever realm of death holds me, and come I shall, no matter what the laws of life and death forbid. At the end, I will be there for the final battle, for the wolf time. And then
I like how you transitioned from normal to fucking Swedish IKEA employee to fucking normal again.
I tried, man. I tried. I don't have. I tried to reach the greatness of the great Zoran the Bear, but I cannot.
Yeah, we're nowhere near him.
Yes.
Zoran, sorry, man.
Yeah. The only Primarchs that I feel like I can do are the ones that no one has voiced already.
Yeah.
And Angron.
Also, can we just talk about how... Yeah, we can do Angron, fine. Can we just talk about how the TTS version of Corvus Corax literally sounds like Nicolas Cage?
I love that so much.
It's just... I swear to God, I thought they got Nicolas Cage to voice these fucking lines. Because it's just so, is that fucking Nicolas Cage? If you don't listen to TTS, please listen to TTS. Fucking Alpha Busa deserves all the fucking praise in the galaxy.
Yes.
And you'll learn more about Leman Russ, because they talk about all the wolf shit, I think.
Yes.
In one of the episodes, where not Kitten recites it all to the Emperor.
Yes,
So
I have a question.
please watch.
Is Kitten technically Valdor, or is that someone else?
Theory, that's a theory. Most likely not. But, fun fact, Valdor is alive. It's confirmed. He's currently alive in the 41st millennium, 42nd millennium, whatever millennium we are.
Well, I don't really think you can kill Constantine Valdor, the ultimate king. The Primarch of the Custodians.
The only way Constantine Valdor is gonna fucking die is when he accepts death. Because this motherfucker has literally been alive for, at this point, about 12,000 years. Because he was there during the unification.
Yeah.
Which was in the 30th millennium-ish. And it's the 42nd now, and he's confirmed to be alive, more or less.
I think
he's
the
a cool
Primarchs, the Custodians would be functionally immortal, where they don't die unless you kill them.
Yeah.
And then there's Constantine Valdor, who is the biggest and most ultimate Custodian.
He's literally the size of a Primarch.
And you can tell you can tell who's the most important person in the Imperium
Yes.
because they're tall.
Yep. Because of their size, because of their girth, some might say. Alright, on that very heretical note, I think it's time to stop talking about this, Wolf Boy.
Yeah. Right now, we are both messes of allergies and pain, so I'm surprised
Yes.
we were this consistent.
It is that time of the year.
Yeah.
So next episode, we are talking about number 7, who is, I believe, Rogel Dorn. I am double checking this because I don't like being wrong.
Rogel Dorn,
Yes.
Trimarch of the Imperial Fists, and basically just Ron Swanson, but
Yes.
somehow even more deadpan and unhappy.
Oh. Yes, I'm correct. It is Rogel Dorn of the Imperial Fists.
I will now proceed to overuse this voice.
Oh, great.
You're going to be hearing a great deal of this.
Yes.
It's going to be very, 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 very... We have one joke here, and that is the
We
word
do.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. We do only have very limited jokes here, so if you have any jokes for us that you want to throw our way, that you don't mind us using, please email them to us at thebattlebrothercast@gmail.com. Line's always open. Just give us, shove us an email if you want to just talk about how your day went. I'm very interested to know. Where are you listening from? Do you think my voice is sexy enough? I could change it. I could do lots of different voices. I can get surgery if you think I should get surgery.
Would you like for me to do more Primarch voices?
Ask Anisius to do more Primarch voices or to stop doing Primarch voices. We don't know. Give us your feedback.
Both
Let us
is
know.
acceptable.
Both is acceptable. Shoot us an email. Shoot us on Instagram at the Battle Brother Cast. We're also there.
Yes.
Fucking whatever, bro. Just don't. If you don't even feel like it, just don't do it. You're an adult. Make your own decisions.
Speak to us, please. We need input.
Yes. So on that note, next week, Rogel Dorn. This has been Leman Russ and the Space Wolves. Any closing points?
Space Vikings, Power Metal. I believe we've made all of our points here.
Yes, very good. Okay. Everybody have a good night, day, afternoon, drive home, drive to work, wherever you're listening from. Ave Imperator.
Ave Imperator.